This week's show brought to you by Roosters, a fun casual joint. Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars.
Welcome everybody to the Scott County Cardinals News Graphic Football Coaches Show. It is week 6 of the football season already, second half of the regular season, and we are starting the district schedule this week. It is hard to believe. Coming off a back-to-back home and away event against two of the best teams from Ohio, much ballyhooed and much promoted on here and in the pages of the News Graphic. Just to review that, 2 weeks ago, the Cardinals lost 38-28 to Archbishop Moeller High School out of Cincinnati. That was a game that kind of got away from the Cardinals early. It was back and forth from about the middle of the second quarter on, but early mistakes caught up with the Cards and cost them a chance at victory. Then going up to LaSalle, who was an opponent on paper, I think, probably Scott County thought was going to be even tougher than Moeller. It was a tough situation to go into up there at Lancer Stadium. Big crowd, Friday night game up in Cincinnati. Scott County came down the field and scored on its first series, but I think looking back on that, Coach McKee kind of thinks maybe, well, they caught him with a couple of trick formations and things like that and caught LaSalle off guard. Scott County was the first team to score a touchdown against LaSalle all year, but they did not score another offensive touchdown in that game. Glenn Covington had an interception return for a touchdown early in the second half to cut it to 21-14 LaSalle. Then Scott County was in a situation where they had a defensive stop and were going to get the ball back, and a penalty for taunting on the defense. Not something we'd like to see, certainly not something that Coach McKee liked to see. Cost them a possession. 4 plays later, LaSalle scored and went on to a 28-14 victory. So the bottom line, Scott County now 3-2 on the season, which is exactly where they were last season. Of course, that was a little different circumstance. They had played Cincinnati Elder at home and lost a close game. And then they had the forfeit loss to Lafayette, which we talked about to no end last season. But at 3-2, in a little bit of a different situation, coming home to face winless Bryan Station in the first district game. Now the district's a little bit different this year with 5 teams involved. One will not make the playoffs. Now we have every reason to believe Scott County's fine in that regard, but you have to win at least one game to get in that show. Bryan Station at this point 0-4. So they're coming in kind of with the classic cliche, nothing to lose situation. They've been outscored pretty badly in their first 4 games. I believe the addition of the Frederick Douglass School in the Lexington district kind of hurt Bryan Station. They lost quite a few players in that exchange. They do have Jalen Burbridge at quarterback. He's the son of Cornell Burbridge, who used to play for the Dallas Cowboys. He's a very gifted athlete. Their leading rusher, leading passer, obviously. He's got some weapons, but defensively they just haven't been able to keep up with the likes of the teams they've been playing. They have a loss to Tates Creek, a loss to Belfry. There's a couple other good opponents. Lafayette, they played early in the season. So they haven't had an easy schedule, but they have struggled. And the key for Scott County, I think Coach McKee, we'll talk to him momentarily, but I think he would probably tell you, stay within themselves. They've had this, for a couple of weeks they've been able to focus on who their opponent is. They've maybe been a little too worried about their opponents. Now it's time for Scott County, the Cardinals, to just focus on their plays and focus on what they do well, perfect that. There have been some little mistakes, fumbles on the goal line, things like that have set them back. If they can eliminate those, I think they figured out in the last couple of weeks that they were competitive with teams that are on a level with Trinity and some of the teams that they would want to play in the Kentucky 6A playoffs later this season. So going into the Bryan Station game this week, we talked to Coach Jim McKee about, we reviewed the Moeller and the LaSalle games and also talked to him about what we can expect from the defenders. Here's what Coach McKee had to say.
Coach McKee said the Moeller and LaSalle games showed that the Cards still have progress to make as a program.
Well, I've learned we're not good enough to beat Moeller and LaSalle yet. And, you know, I think that we all want instant success. Now, I realize this is my 21st year, so we should have success after 21 years. But, you know, there's a process in everything. And, you know, you sit and you ask yourself, gosh almighty, you know, how can you fumble the ball inside the 5 in both games on snaps? And, you know, then we jumped off sides after that, and we busted a coverage on one of their touchdowns. You know, we were lined up wrong, and they quick snapped it and sent a guy down. I think the biggest answer to that is I think you just got to keep playing those teams. And, you know, I mean, you got to keep putting yourself in that position. And so I thought it was great. I mean, obviously I want to win. I'm a competitor, just like you are. You want more views this week than last week. If you don't, you shouldn't be doing the show. But I thought it was a great experience for our kids.
Scott County is hungry for a victory to start its quest for another district title.
No, we're really looking forward to it. We'll be at home. It's homecoming. You know, we want to win. We haven't won a game since Fort Thomas Islands. And so that'll be, you know, 7, 14, 21 days when we take the field against Bryan Station since we've had a win. And so we want to win. And we want to get out to the front of the district race. It's a little bit different this year. There are 5 teams in our district, so everybody won't make it. So you've got to win a game to get into the playoffs, so that'll be our first step. And then our next step will, you know, be to win the next week, win the next week, win the next week. So, no, we're really looking forward to it.
Bryan Station may be winless, but the defenders still have plenty of firepower on offense.
The new school hurt them. You know, it took several of their starters, and you know that's just the way the cards are dealt in school districts. And kids lived in the district, and now they live in a different district. So, but Jalen Burbage is an excellent quarterback, and you know they've got some outstanding coaches. They're the same guys that were coaching them when they beat us in 2014 up there. I don't think you were here yet. I think that was last year with the Owls, but I don't think you were here. They beat us up at their place in 2014. But we've lost to them twice since I've been here. We lost to them in 1999. They had a tailback named Eric Shelton and a quarterback named J.T. Haskins. Both of them were outstanding football players. And then we lost to them in 2014. We beat them every other time, and we plan on beating them Friday.
After the Cincinnati showdowns, the Cards look forward to a 4-game stretch against familiar foes.
It's time to go. You know, I mean, it's time to go right now. You know, we've had our little tour of duty. We've played the LaSalles of the world and the Mollers of the world. But, you know, at the end of the day, if we can win our district in 4 weeks, then we're not going to look back and worry about that we lost to LaSalle. It's our job, mainly my job, to make sure that we use that to the way that it needs to be used. I mean, those are good football teams, dude. I mean, they're really good football teams, and people can't really quite understand how good they are. And you know, I mean, Moeller had Trinity down 24-7, driving to score to make it 31-7 with a minute 30 to go in the first half, and they throw a pick. So if they don't throw a pick right there, they go in. They're deep in the red zone. They go in up 31-7 at the halftime over Trinity. So those are extremely good football teams. I'll be interested to see how they play out as the season progresses.
Scott County is 3-2 for the second straight year, but strength of schedule makes that record deceiving.
You know, I mean, we don't need to be 3-3, but no, absolutely. And really, I guess you are a little bit sad because I think everybody starts a season, or I know I do. I mean, I start every season, even though, let's see, I've coached a team and our staff. It's never me, so I should rephrase that. We were undefeated in the regular season in 1995, 2004, 2011, 2013, so 4 out of 26 years. So that means 22 years it hadn't, but you start every summer with a little hope you'll be undefeated. There's something about that 0 on the end. I can remember in 2002, after we got to be about 5-0 up in the cafeteria, we put a big sign up that said 5-0, and then we would tape a 6 over it, tape the 7 over it, tape an 8 over it. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I thought there was a chance we could have an undefeated season this year, but we don't, so we're 3-2.
Injuries have shuffled the Scott County offensive line this season, but the past 2 weeks were a good learning experience for younger players.
We lost Joe Logan and Tyler Sammons, who we anticipated both of them being starting offensive linemen. We anticipated Tyler being our center, and we anticipated Joe being our right tackle. We lost both of them to looks like probably season-ending injuries in the preseason. Joe went back for an X-ray this week. We were hoping to get him back this week. We're not going to. We still have a shot to possibly get him back, but it's you know, it's going to be tough. And Tyler at the very earliest would be the first round of the playoffs before we would get him back. So, you know, we were not good on the offensive line to start with, and I don't mean the players weren't good. I'm just saying good by standard of where we need to be and what we need to work on and how we need to improve. So we needed a lot of work on the offensive line to begin with. We lost 2 of the 5 starters that we thought we were going to have, the season-ending injuries. And one of them was a non-contact, didn't even have his shoulder pads on. So, you know, I mean, we're still working there. We're not where we need to be there. And you saw the other night that once they caught up to the speed of what we were doing, and Bryce went out, so the combination of the fakes aren't going to quite fool them as much anymore, and the best backs out, then it got to be real tough sledding real quick.
All right, that was Coach McKee. We saw kind of a mixed bag with Coach. I think after the last 2 games, he was a little disappointed by the loss and the way the team played at times. But I think after reflecting on the film, he realizes how good those opponents were, and that the Cardinals really did themselves some good in the long run by scheduling those games. Now we're headed into the meat of the schedule where the seniors can kind of get excited but kind of feel a little bit nostalgic and sad about the fact that it's almost over. Homecoming is this week, in fact. And we talked with Sam Sutton and Landon Easley about that and the Bryan Station game. Here's what they had to say.
Despite the losses, Scott County players saw the Ohio games as an indication that they are an elite team themselves.
It was an awesome experience playing 2 of the best teams in Ohio. I think it really taught us that we can play with anybody, especially the St. X's and Trinities and stuff, and hopefully we'll meet them down the road and we'll pretty much know what they got compared to how we played Moeller in the South.
It was a very awesome experience to play those 2 big Ohio teams. A lot of adrenaline pumping. It shows that we can play with them, with St. X and Trinity and those teams out of Louisville, but then again, we got to beat them. And so that means, I mean, we very well could have beat those 2 teams, but we just got to cut back with some mistakes like turnovers and executing the offense better.
Scott County has won 9 of the past 10 district titles, and the goal has not changed a bit this season.
Oh, it means a lot. You know, we take pride in dominating our district, and you know, we want every team in Lexington hates us, but you know, we like that because we love winning, so we want to keep it that way.
We know that we played tough competition for a reason, so we can come back and dominate our district again. So hopefully we can do that, and we're all pumped up to do that. Like I said, we're going to execute the offense even better against these teams, and we're going to get it rolling. So.
Bryan Station presents many challenges with its multi-talented quarterback.
Yeah, their quarterback's pretty good. They have a lot of athletes that are very good and fast. So mostly a pass game. They throw some run in there too, but mostly just their athletes. We just gotta, you know, play our defense and read our keys.
And then we're gonna come out really hard, and we should be ready to play.
Homecoming promises to be an emotional night for the Scott County seniors.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's already my senior homecoming game, you know, but I don't think it really adds much to it. Every Friday night at Toyota Stadium is incredible, so it's just another night that I get to remember.
It's awesome, it's exciting, it's got to come around sometime, and I think I'm ready for it, and it's going to be the time of my life.